Hi everybody, welcome back once again to the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel. And today's review is a manufacturer we haven't looked at on this channel before. It's a gun I get asked about quite a lot. It's certainly a brand that's prevalent here in the UK at the moment. I would imagine worldwide because of its kind of the way it sits in the marketplace, sort of right from the bottom up until I'm going to say mid-range, maybe a bit below mid-range. So the gun we're going to look at today is from Turkish manufacturer ATA. Now, ATA is a relatively new company in terms of shotgun manufacture. I think it was formed in the 1950s, but until the sort of last 7 or 8 years, I don't think they manufactured an over and under. And now in the UK, because of the huge input and the huge investment and all the marketing and the great work the guys at Sportsman Gun Centre have done, they are just absolutely huge. And what's happened is because of that and because of their involvement, you've now got a range of shotguns that caters for everybody, particularly people starting out. And one thing I get asked a lot about in terms of Turkish shotguns is, would I buy an ATA or would I buy a Yildiz? Now, if you haven't seen the Yildiz video we've previously done, it was the Yildiz Black Pro. Do check it out. Now, that is a fantastic, fantastic gun, but it's a completely different kind of gun to what ATA offer. And I'm going to explain why and talk about this particular gun, which, as you can see, just looking at it, looks fantastic. So the gun I've chosen to do is the ATA SP Deluxe. Now, this sits right at the kind of top end of the ATA range in terms of the aesthetics of it, because ultimately, as with a lot of shotgun manufacturers, the bottom of the range, I say the bottom of the range, the budget end of the range and the top end of the range never differ massively, but quite often it is literally down to aesthetics or cosmetics, and that is the case with this ATA. At first glance, you look at it and it looks like a shotgun that costs, I would say, £3,000, £4,000, £5,000, just because of the way it looks, the nice side plates, the engraving, the wooden book plate, but that's just first impressions. Shotgun fanatics like myself will recognise the fact that the mechanism is very, very similar to a, dare I say it, Beretta. And you can see just looking at this gun, the ATA have taken a lot of inspiration from Beretta themselves in terms of the design of the shotgun, although obviously at a much, much lower price. So starting off with the barrels, it screams Beretta, it looks exactly the same. But what you've got to remember is, with the fact that these guns cost so little, straight away you think, well, it's got engine turning on it. Well, to put things into perspective, and I don't like to talk about prices, this gun here, which is hand engraved, I might add, costs less than a new Beretta Silver Pigeon 1. So that in itself, you've got to sit back and go, wow, that's impressive. And that's why I wanted to show you this particular model. So barrels, engine turning, you know, it look the block, if you like, looks the same as a Beretta. It's a little bit different on the bottom because with a Beretta, the whole thing is rounded. So there are obviously differences because of the patents, etc. involved. You can't just copy Beretta. You're not allowed to do that. This one is a 30-inch sporter. Now, the ATA range, which is vast, I'm sure if you go online, you can check them all out. They do short barrel game guns, they do long barreled sporters. But one of the features of the sporters is they've all got matte barrels. This is matte finish with a 10mm parallel rib, 3-inch chambers, superior steel shot proof. Now, interestingly enough, the multi-choke system that ATA use is identical to, guess what? Beretta. Same as a mobile choke. You can interchange them to an ATA to a Beretta with a mobile choke system and vice versa. So that's the barrels. Now, when you pick this gun up, it feels, with the great respect to ATA, like it's built to a price. It hasn't quite got the same positive clunk as when you close a Miracle or a DT11. But what you've got to remember is we're not talking about guns that cost anywhere near that kind of money. Now, the action itself is steel. So if you remember, we talked about Yildiz in the Yildiz Pro video. The majority of the Yildiz guns are still built on alloy actions, whereas all the ATAs are built on steel action or receivers for people that prefer the word receivers to action. So this one, like I said, again, look at it. It looks very, very similar to a Beretta because of the barrel design where it locks into the action. You've got this release pin here on the top of the inside of the face, same as a Beretta. You've got these elongated holes on the side where the U-bolt comes through, same as a Beretta. It is in its essence very, very similar to a Beretta. Now this one is completely hand engraved. This is the SP Deluxe. The fact that this costs so little with hand engraving on is absolutely staggering, okay? It's got this nice kind of acanthus leafy, scrolly stuff all over. And just, you can look at the action, and you can look at the colour of the action, which is quite white compared to what you get with the Brescia, which would be more nickel. And yes, it's not as well finished, but you have to keep coming back to the price point and how impressive it is for what these guys can produce at such a low cost. Now this gun, like I said, is the flagship, the top of the range. Now this is a 30-inch sporter. It is available also as a game gun. I don't think they do this as a 20 gauge. But if we just turn our attention to the underside, again, it's hand engraved all over it. You've got this black trigger guard. You've got the ATA symbol here. You've got some more leafy stuff, sound like David Attenborough now, all over it. You've got a gold trigger. The attention to detail for the price is exceptional. Now, why I'm talking about that, I want to go back to the comparison with the Yildits. If you bought a Yildits that looked like this, it would be 5, 6, 7 times as much as an ATA, because ultimately there's a lot more work involved in the Yildit side of what they do custom, which is hand engraved. Now, during the initial consultation with all my customers, all my clients, people that contact me regarding shotgun purchase advice or shotgun acquirement, should we say, I always say to them, what are your shooting aspirations? Do you want to go out twice a week and blast a few clays, or do you want something to go out and shoot game? And alongside the application comes a decision as what you want the gun to look like. Some people aren't bothered about engraving, some people aren't bothered about wood. If you remember, we did the Browning Ultra XS Pro video, very, very plain action, functional clay shooting tool with fantastic woodwork, and that's what some people like. So my advice to people looking at, which sort of Turkish gun to consider, if you want something that's extremely ornate and very pretty for not a lot of money, I would go down the ATA route. Whereas I think if you want to buy something that's a bit more serious in terms of a competition gun for a similar kind of money, I would look at the Yildits Pro, because they cater for 2 completely different kinds of shooters. And that's my opinion. Now, this gun weighs 7 pounds 13 ounces. So we've talked a lot about the weight of sporting guns on the channel. Typically I like something that weighs about 8 pounds personally with a 30-inch barrel. Other people want something a bit lighter. So I've used the term dozens of times before, but that would make this gun suitable for a bit of game shooting also with, reasonably heavy cartridges. It is a crossover gun. So in terms of balance, that's pretty much on the hinge pin. I mean, for what that is, the cost of that shotgun out the box, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. So you could shoot that as it was with no alterations required in terms of the balance. I've spoken about this before. If you wanted a bit more recoil absorption and a bit more weight in the stock, I would always recommend the addition of something like a Kickies pad, because they're quite heavy and they're very good in terms of reducing recoil. But that is absolutely exceptional, again, when we consider the cost of this shotgun. Now, moving on to the woodwork, which is absolutely knockout. Now, again, we spoke about this with the Yildits video, and this is no surprise to anybody, and it's no secret. The Turkish shotgun manufacturers have got access to some absolutely incredible walnut, European walnut, Turkish walnut, of course, and the stuff that they put on the ATAs, more so probably than the Yildits is, to be honest with you. I think I've seen some ATAs with much fancier, better figured woodwork per pound, should we say, than I have on the Yildits. This is superb. This would not look out of place on something like probably a 525 Prestige or a Beretta 687 double E double L. To put into perspective once again, as much as I don't like talking about prices, this gun will probably cost you somewhere in the region of less than 25% of one of those guns that I've just mentioned. So that is, again, very, very impressive. So the wood itself, dimensions-wise, pretty good. Again, this is no surprise. It's a bit similar to a Beretta. So you've got 35mm drop at comb, 35mm drop at heel, 14 and 5/8 standard length of pull, and again, a wooden butt plate. Well, you don't get a wooden butt plate on a gun that costs this much. You get a wooden butt plate on a 687 double L or a William Powell or something like that. It is impressive. You can't fail but to be impressed by this range of shotguns. Checkering wise, it's what you'd expect on a low price gun. a budget gun. It's not very fine. It's been done by a laser, but ultimately it does the job. It's double point. I think it suits the style of the gun. You've got quite a deep pistol grip, which feels quite nice in the hand. The forend, I'm not such a fan of, but what I will say is the wood is fantastic. It's a really, really nicely matched to the stock. And what you tend to find with particularly guns of a lower price, they lose it all in the forend. You have a very nice stock, and I've seen this on Brownings, not just guns, you know, in what we will consider a lower cost gun. The woodwork is fantastic. You know, it's a very, very nicely figured forend. It really complements the stock well. And like I said, it's just unusual because normally the forend is where they tend to be plain, because ultimately they don't come from the same tree. It is someone's job in the factory to go through racks and racks of forends and make a decision as to what is suitable and what is what can go with the stock. The shape of it, everyone knows I like a semi-beaver tail. Yes, we've got a bit of a beaver tail. The actual shape of it I absolutely hate, okay? It's got this horrible belly on it, which I do know in some of the newer ATA models has been looked at and has been changed, has been rectified. And the push button, I'm not a fan of push button forends. I think they can be very problematic when they get wet. But again, it works. It obviously works. They use it across the range regardless of whether you buy the bog standard SP Black or whether you bust your wallet open and buy one of these fantastic looking SP Deluxes. So that's the Woodwork. If you look closely, you can see the difference between this and a gun that costs a lot more money. You can see the fact that the metal on the top lever, it probably isn't as good as the quality they use on something like a Beretta or a Browning. You know, when you pull the safety catch back, it feels a bit clunky and a bit, you know, not particularly nice. But again, I'll go back to what your shooting aspirations are. If you want a gun that's perfectly serviceable, looks the part, and is going to serve you well from, you know, 2 days a month shooting, 3 days a month shooting, whatever, then you cannot ignore the Turkish manufacturers. And in this case, you cannot ignore the ATA, because they're steel shot, they're future-proof, they're extremely good value for money. Like I've said, I'm making a direct comparison between these and something like a Yildiz Pro. They are a different gun. They are suitable for a different kind of shooter who has different shooting aspirations. So that has been, for the first time here on the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel, an ATA shotgun. It's the first one we've done. And like I say, you know, we don't like to do things by half. We go straight into the deep end and do their flagship model. That's what we're all about. If you've got any questions about this particular gun, do get in touch, or any of the ATA range, or you might want to know my opinion about what these shoot, what the trigger pulls are like, because I have shot them and I will share that information with you. Comment below, email me directly. The email should be on the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to check out the website, which is being updated and changed constantly. Don't forget to keep liking and subscribing the channel, because we want to keep bringing you fantastic content like this. That's been the ATA SP Sport Deluxe from me, Matthew Morgan at Eastfield Gunroom. I'll see you soon.